This is a very beginner-friendly tutorial where you'll create your first forest. I am going to cover everything you need to know. I hope you will learn a lot. So, let's get started. We got some options to create the new project. Pick film because it starts almost empty and has everything that we need for the forest. Now name it what you want. Learn forest is good for me. Now hit create. It can take a long time to open, especially if it's your first time. Several hours is normal on a slow computer. Okay, there we go. Everything looks confusing at first, but I'll do my best to explain all you need. I'm trying something different for this tutorial. A lot of my viewers suggested that I edit less my videos and really slowly show everything that I do, so that's why this video is longer than usual. You can hold right-click on your mouse and move it to look around. Next, while you're still holding right-click, use W, A, S, and D to move in the scene. Once you're comfortable with that, use E to go up and Q to go down. Play a little with that, and once you're ready, we will continue. Now do Control plus spacebar. This is what they call the content drawer, where you'll find every assets for this project. Quite empty right now, but we are going to use this a lot. Look, the thing they call main is the current level we're in. I'll explain in a minute. Do Control plus spacebar again to close this, or just click away. We are not going to build directly in this level. Let's create a new one, and I'll explain why. It's simple enough. File, new level. Select basic, then create. You can now wait a few seconds for it to load. Well, that was fast. Okay, so what do we do? Oh, right, a forest. But how do we turn this into a forest? Don't worry, that's why I'm here. First, let me tell you why I create a new level. First, it's to be better organized. Very useful when making huge projects with many levels. Then, why this one? Because it has all the essential lighting assets already there and well organized. Before we really get started, I'd like to tell you that it's very likely that our end results end up quite different. All the little details like the fog, the lighting, the exact placement of the foliage. But that's okay, don't worry about it. We just created a new level, so do Control plus spacebar and let's see what we got. Okay, main is still there of course, but the one we just created is not. And that's because we didn't save it yet. So, do Control plus S to save your project, then name it. Oh, and look, here we see main again, with nothing else. All levels we have appear here, so name it Forest. Then of course save. Now Control plus spacebar again, and you can see both levels are here. You can just double click on the one you want to open. Let's see main. Yep, now back to the forest level. This is used to tell the engine where the player should start, but we're not making a game, so you can delete that. This big surface there, it's not a very realistic ground. Delete this and we'll make a good one. But first I want to remind you of the importance of saving your project. You don't want to lose your progress. There is a little star next to the level name to tell you if the current level has unsaved changes. You just have to do Control S, and it's saved. Now for the ground, click on this rectangle that says Selection Mode, then choose Landscape. Selection being the current active mode, we want it to be Landscape. Okay, this again is something that looks hard to understand, but I'm here to guide you. The green grid you see here is simply where the ground that we are going to create will appear. It says preparing shaders. You may want to wait until this is done. While we wait, I'll show you what this does. Simply, it's the size of the green grid, so of the ground. Now it's 96 times 8, so that's why it's so long. We don't need it long like that. 8 times 8 is good. Alright, preparing shaders is done. But before creating, let's see if it's big enough. Yeah, certainly is. Create that ground. You got a brush now? You can use it to paint mountains on the ground. Just hold left click on your mouse. But we don't want mountains for this project, just not a flat ground. Control plus Z to undo that. Now let's find a place where the camera will be. Here looks good. You can change the brush size with this. And this is too strong. We don't want the brush to instantly create mountains. So, change the tool strength for something much lower. Then adjust the strength and the brush size as needed. I found something good, so now I'm starting to build the ground. If you did something wrong and it's too late to do Ctrl-Z, you can select the Erase tool and fix it. That's it for my ground. Let's go back to selection mode. Okay, looks good. Now maybe you want to get rid of this error message. Just click play, then escape on your keyboard. It usually fixes it. We won't get in the game mode again today. That's for different types of projects like games and some simulations. Let's continue the forest. That doesn't look like a realistic ground. We are going to download a forest ground texture, then apply it to our ground, all without leaving Unreal Engine. To do that, open the Bridge tab. This is where you can download a crazy amount of free assets, including plants, surfaces, decals, and so much more. Let's see what we get if we search for forest. But first, just in case you don't have the Bridge tab there, let me show you how to add it. Make sure you have the latest Unreal Engine version because it's relatively new. Then open the content drawer doing Ctrl plus spacebar on your keyboard. Then right-click anywhere, then click Add Quick Cell Content. Now you should have it. Let's continue. We were looking for some forest assets. Let's start with the ground. This one looks good. Yeah, I believe this will work perfectly. Maybe you need to sign in. If so, let's do it, then come back here. Now you can select a quality level. Usually higher quality is more demanding for the computer, plus takes more storage. But it looks a little better. I really don't need the highest setting for this project. Medium will give a good look. Now you can click Download. We are going to take this material we just downloaded and place it on the ground we created earlier. In case you didn't realize yet, Forest and Bridge are two tabs we can easily switch between, just like most internet browsers. Now, I need to show you a mistake almost every beginner usually go through. It's actually pretty simple, I got you. It's just that when you're about to add the material, which I'll show you how in a second, the material is just not here. That's because you never gave the material file to this very project, you just downloaded it on your computer. So here's what you were supposed to do. Try to remember this part. It's as simple as clicking on the Add button. That's it. This window that just popped up, don't worry about it. It shows you the material got imported successfully and shows you where to find it. You can close it without issue, and then let's go back to the project. Control plus spacebar, and look, a new folder has been created. It's called Megascans and contains everything we download from Bridge. Here we'll see all of the different types of assets we can download organized by folders. Surfaces are the material we downloaded, so the forest ground should be in there. It sure is. Let's look at this. Everything is good, so click on the ground to select it if it isn't already, then scroll to find landscape material. Now find the ground material you want. You could search for it by its name. Here it is, so click on it and let's see how it looks. It repeats itself a lot, doesn't it? But that's okay. We can fix this. Just double-click on the material. A lot of settings here, but we need just one. First, I want you to know that this is just a window that popped up over the project. That project is still open, just behind it. There. Not much, but I thought you'd like to know. Anyway, we got the material here as a ball. You can look around it if you want, but it's not necessary for this. Just check tiling, then change the X and Y values equally. They represent how often the texture repeats itself. Now it repeats twice more, quite the opposite of what I want. Try a low value like 0.2. Also, don't forget to apply to both X and Y. Save it and see how it looks. That will work, I think. If not, we can change it later. Close this material window. Let's now find more forest assets. We could start with the grass, so search for forest grass and see what we get. Look at this wild grass. I think that's exactly what I wanted. Give me a second to look at it and imagine what it would look like in the final render. That works, so let's keep going. Select the quality level, so medium for me, then download. And it's ready. Now click, add, then this will pop up again. So, close it. Now we got some grass, so let's go back to the scene and apply it. Control plus spacebar, yes, this again. And if you understood what I said so far, you could guess that the grass is in the Megascans folder. Now, which folder do you think? Congrats if you said 3D plants. So, here we go. All of the grass assets I just downloaded are right there, ready to use for my project. But there's a thing I need to explain, because it's one of the most confusing part of Unreal for many beginners. Why are the same assets also in a folder called foliage? Well, what we saw in the previous folder was some grass that we could simply drag and drop, but what they call foliage is different. It's similar to how we had a brush and kind of painted mountains earlier, except we can use the foliage to paint grass, which we will do very soon. Anything in the foliage folder, it's impossible to drag it directly in the scene. There's a better way. Click on selection mode and let's get in the foliage mode. Not landscape, this time it's foliage. We are about to paint grass. This part can get a little tricky, but please don't give up. At the end, you'll be proud of yourself. Look at this. All the assets that were in the foliage folder are here. Amazing, isn't it? I'm talking about this folder. Anyway, let's paint this ground. You won't see the brush appear on the ground unless there's at least one foliage selected. I checked the first one, so now if I click on the ground, it will paint using only what I checked, so only one grass foliage. If it looks weird like that, just wait for the computer to finish loading it. Now obviously that's not at all what I want my ground to look like. So, as usual, you can do Ctrl Z to undo the last action. I didn't tell you yet, but look at this. You can change the camera speed with this. All these other options, don't worry about them for now. We'll get to them later. We have only the first one checked, so make sure it's selected then while holding Shift, click on the last one. Now they are all selected, but not checked, those are two different things. The reason I wanted you to select them all is so you can check them all at the same time. You got it? For it to appear in the brush, you need to have it checked. Selecting foliages is only useful to check several at the same time. Or change some settings, we'll get there in a second. You see this? Doesn't look like a good forest ground to me. So, let's do Ctrl Z again and make something better. The same way we built mountains earlier, the brush has some size and density settings. However, even at maximum paint density, it is still not enough. So, you need to understand that this paint density is only the overall density of the brush. You can change the density of each individual foliage asset to your liking. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Uncheck them all, then check just the first one. I'm doing this just so that I can explain to you how to change the density of only one foliage. So look, only this one is checked, and the paint density is set to 1, so the max. And this is what we get. Very little grass. Let's keep the paint density at 1, the 1 foliage is checked, and look what we got here. Density. Not the paint density, but the very personal density of the checked foliage. It's currently at 100, so let's see what happens if we set it to 1000. Big difference. All of this is only from 1 foliage asset that we set to 1000 density. Now think about it. We only change the density of 1 foliage, all the others are still at 100 of density. And to prove it, let me check only the second foliage and see what we get. Very low density. Also, if you look at the foliage settings, it indeed says 100 of density. Now, let me check only the first foliage again and see the difference. I hope I explained it well enough. First foliage has 1000 of density because we set it like that, and second foliage still has 100 because we didn't change it. Now let's remove that and finally build the ground. First, reset the first foliage to 100 so they're all equal. It's important for what's coming. Now select all of the foliage, and because they're all equal, we can change the density of them all at the same time. I checked them all so that I can use them in the brush. But just so you know, to change the settings, they don't have to be checked, just selected. Anyway, they're all checked now. That means I can paint with them already. Do you think this is good? Honestly, from there, it's up to you. You create what you want, and my goal is really just to show you how to use Unreal and how I create forests. I am trying a few different density levels for all the foliage assets, and it seems to me that I prefer 750. Yeah, that's good, so let's keep going. I could paint already, but foliage is so demanding for the computer that I'd much rather place only what the camera sees. I'm still placing 1 circle, so I at least have a starting point. Now we are going to add a camera, so go back to selection mode for now. To add a camera, click on the cube with a green plus, then here you'll see a lot of things you can add, but let's focus on the camera for now, which you can find in Cinematic, and it's called Cine Camera Actor. Just click on it. And we have a camera already. That's it, but what is this view? Where's the grass? Where is the camera? Good news, you don't have to find it, even though it wouldn't be hard, but let's focus on this. Click perspective, then from there you can get directly in the camera view. Well, looks like all this time the camera was in the grass. Truth is, I knew it was there all along because objects you add appears in front of you. Since you're the camera, just get exactly where you want it to be. Don't stress too much about it, we'll definitely change it later. Find the outliner, then click on the camera. Now, if you scroll down just a little, I said just a little, look at this, you can control the focal length. Do I really need to explain what it does? Well, lower number, and you get some wide angle and higher value, and it creates a zoom effect. I put it back at 35, maybe I'll change it later. Anyway, open the focus settings, click on the picker, then click on a close foliage, because right now it's not the focus, so it's blurry. You see what it does? Now it's the background that's blurry. Let's not waste time with this. We will for sure change it when the scene is complete, for example, to put the focus on the main character. So reset this and let's keep building. Do you remember how to add foliage? If yes, congrats. If not, it's okay, this takes time. Click selection mode and go to foliage. Remember, we are still in the camera view, so try not to move around. All the foliages are already checked and configured with 1000 density, as we set it up earlier, so let's paint. Have fun, but remember that your computer has to render all of this in real time, so maybe don't put that much of it like me. Looks alright, go back to selection mode. I'm still in the camera, but let me slowly look around to see how the computer handles it. Oh, you should know that you can get out of the camera just by clicking on this eject button. Wow, look at this, a camera. So this is the camera we were in, and this is the reality. It seems there's no problem at all for my computer to handle this, but still, there's more grass than needed, and I don't want this. Especially because I know soon we will have trees here. I'm going back to foliage to erase some grass. I can just use the erase tool, set my brush size, and erase what I don't want. Maybe I'll add more grass later, maybe not. It's okay not to be sure for now. Let's go back in the camera view. There's going to be a lot of fogs and trees in the background, so that's why we really don't need too much grass. Go back to selection mode. We are going to add the fog right now. You'll see. It's crazy how much of a difference some fog can make. It's called exponential height fog, and it's already in the project. We just need to set it up, so click on it in the outliner. Fog density. This is the amount of fog you want. If you want some extreme amount of fog, you can set pretty much any amount you want here. Just type in a number. Now it looks all blue and unrealistic, but don't worry, there's a cool trick to fix this with one click. Don't worry about the density for now. Instead, scroll down until you find something called volumetric fog. Then just check this on. It will make a fog that makes a lot more sense in the scene and so much more realistic and better looking. Right now, this doesn't look incredible, but wait until we get trees, and most importantly, set up the sun position. Now, try playing around with albedo. It's kind of the color of the fog. Be careful not to put something very unrealistic here, unless that's what you want, of course. Putting it in the yellow or green area is amazing for some dystopian-looking projects like this one I made another day. You can try some colors, but I think for a forest, a little green could help. Anyway, you can change it later if needed. Now it's time you learn how to move the sun position. Hold Control and L on your keyboard, and while still holding Control, move your mouse around and it will move the sun. So many possibilities here, it's beautiful. Stop holding Control on your keyboard and place your mouse cursor over exponential height fog in the outliner. You'll see an eye icon next to it, click on it, and it will disable the fog. Pretty big difference if you ask me. Anyway, the real reason I disabled it is so that you can see the sun moving and understand better what's happening when you hold Control plus L and move your mouse around. Put the fog back. We really need it. Now it's time to do some experimentation. I'll keep explaining what I'm doing when needed. I selected the fog in the outliner, and I'm now trying some albedo colors. Let's try different camera settings. Make sure it's selected in the outliner, and let's try setting the focal length to something lower, like 22. This will completely change the way the final render looks, and for this one, I want a wide enough angle. Yeah, this looks good. Now, directional light is the sun itself. You can change its intensity directly. Higher value, brighter sun. Then lower value, and it can get very dark. Find something that looks good, and you can go back here later if needed. Now quickly, I'm trying some sun positions and adjusting the fog. How about we add the rest of the grass now? Click selection mode, then choose foliage. Now why is it not painting even though they're all checked? Because I'm still on the erase tool. Just switch to paint. That's it for the grass. Let's go back to selection mode. We are now ready to welcome the trees. Open Epic Games Launcher, then find the marketplace. Search for Megascans tree. They're free and super realistic. Pick the one you want, but for me it will be this one because I already downloaded it on my computer for other projects. Keep learning consistently, and soon enough, maybe you'll create incredible renders like these examples. They're really amazing. Now add this to your project. After clicking Add to Project, it will ask you to select one, then it will download it. When you've done that, you can go back to Unreal. Let's get out of the camera and place those trees. Control plus spacebar, we're still in the grass folder, so get out of it and go directly to content just by clicking on it. The trees are in the black alder folder. Similarly to the grass earlier, trees have a foliage folder too, but we won't use it today. Last time I tried to paint trees, my computer... Just kidding, but it's just to say you need a very powerful machine for this. So let's use those in geometry so we can place them one by one. Don't worry, of course I'm going to show you how to do this. Choose Simple Wind, and now we got all these trees for the project. If you click on the camera, you can get its view without being in it. It just has to be selected, could be done by clicking on it in the outliner too. Now we finally add the trees. Control plus spacebar, wait just one thing first, pin the camera view so that we can select other objects while still having the camera view. See, I just selected the foliage and I can still see the camera view. Now we can do it, Control plus spacebar to open the content drawer. Adding a tree is simple enough, just drag and drop, then wait. What's fun with video editing is that I can just skip the loading time. Anyway, now that the tree is fully loaded, try to drag and drop the same one again, and this time it will work flawlessly and you can choose where to put it. Hey, I'm not saying it's smooth, but it's working. And yes, you can change its position after dropping it, so don't worry too much about it for now. So yeah, I'll put it here at least for now. Now, oh wow, that was slow. Well, I got some bad news. You need to import each trees and wait for each one. Then the good news, you can use the same tree as many times as you want. Just keep in mind that in real life you can't really find two identical trees. In case you forgot already, this is the camera, and this is what the camera sees. Hey, it's already starting to look pretty cool. Let's add a new tree now, and wait so long again. Do you understand now why I didn't want to put too much grass earlier? The harder the computer is working already, the longer it will take to import big assets like these trees. Just because you see the tree doesn't mean it's ready. Look at the lower right corner, it shows the progress. Now that you know how to import a tree, I won't have to explain the exact same thing for each one, so just watch this time lapse of me placing all of the trees. Then you'll have to do it for real. So be patient. It's worth it. Don't put them at random places. I'm building my project one tree at a time, and I got a strong idea of what I want the result to look like. I'm leaving some space at the middle because here there will be one big tree and the girl standing next to it. I want one tree very close to the camera. It makes a cool effect. And a second one to the right. The camera needs to feel like it's really in a forest. Plus, it makes a great composition. Now you may want to know how to rotate your tree. Just click on the rotate button here. Now you can rotate it just like you want. Here you can switch between the tools, including moving, rotating, and scaling. The keyboard shortcuts are Q, W, E, and R. Just like that, you can quickly switch, and I highly recommend you get used to it because we switch a lot. All right, got it? I'm just placing the trees and building something that looks good. Okay, this tree is going to be the big central one. Right there looks perfect. Let's get back in the camera. Maybe we should work on that lighting. Remember how? Hold Control and L on your keyboard and move your cursor. If the last thing you did was selecting something in the outliner or anything outside of the scene, just click anywhere on it. The viewport has to be the focus for Control L to work. Now I'm trying some sun positions to see what looks good. This is pretty. The sun rays are a very important part of this project. I want to try something. I got out of the camera and I'm pinning it again so that I can try moving a tree. Because for the sun rays to come, they can't be blocked by a tree. I tried to hide some to see what changes. With not much success, I'm trying different sun positions. I'm sure I can find something good. We just have to be patient. Oh, finally something interesting. Yes, I love this. My sun rays will come from here. I selected the directional light to turn up the intensity of the sun. It was too dark. Something we didn't cover yet is skylight. Turning it up will make the dark areas like this tree brighter. Just find intensity scale and try something higher. See? Now the tree is way more visible. So is the rest of the scene. I'm trying some different intensity scale for skylight and adjusting directional light too. Now let's see if we can improve the fog. Interesting. The fog has a huge impact on the sun rays. I love when there's a lot of it, it's so beautiful. Sometimes it's hard to choose, but I'll go with this. Yeah, that's good. In the same folder where you had the trees, you also have some smaller plants to add. I'm adding them all around the scene, including some very close to the camera. Pretty good. Now, the flowers. Back on the bridge tab, and let's find some flowers. We got a lot of really good options here. I love this one. Something white will fit perfectly in my project. Download, then add. Okay, now back to the project, then Control Spacebar. Go back to Content, and it should be in the Megascans folder, then 3D Plants, and yes, it's there. It's that easy to download flowers. Notice how there's a foliage folder for them. We are going to use it this time. Remember how to get in the foliage mode? It's selection mode, foliage. Right now, all the grass is checked. We want the flowers to be. So select all the grass, then uncheck them. After that, check all the flowers. Now we got a flower only brush, adjust the brush size. And just like that, we can start painting already. I don't want flowers everywhere, just one spot like that. So that means we're done with the flowers already. Go back to selection mode. This already looks incredible, but we're not done yet. I want to add someone here. Let's find some character in the marketplace on the Epic Games launcher. I recommend you search Twin Motion Posed. There we got some packs of posed humans. You can't animate them, but they can look awesome in still renders. You can look around and see what each pack has to offer, but for me, it will be this winter pack. I see many characters that could fit perfectly. So now add it to your project. I did just that, and now let's find it in the content drawer. Go back to content, and we got a posed humans folder. They are in characters. Each folder contains a human. The quickest way to browse them is by opening the Characters folder on the left, and then just using the arrow keys on your keyboard to switch folder. Let's see what could work. This one is perfect. Just drag and drop. Remember how to rotate? Click here or E on your keyboard. I mentioned earlier that you can change the scale. Click on this or R on your keyboard. See, we don't have much control over the scale. There's some snapping. You can disable the snapping of the scaling here. Now I got full control over the scale. Scale, rotate, move, and find the perfect look. To finalize the camera position, click Perspective, and this time choose Cinematic Viewport. We are not done yet. There's some important change to do. Get back in the camera, and we got some new settings here. You got some grid to help you place the camera if you want. After this, we will adjust the camera focus. Okay, I adjusted the girl so she is in the middle of the shot. Now I can disable the grid. Let's do those final camera improvements. We are only 3 steps away from being done. Open the focus settings, click on the picker, and choose the girl as the focus. That means she'll be perfectly clear, and the closer objects will get blurry. There is a difference, but it's way too small. I really want to close items to be blurry, so turn down the aperture. See the difference? Look at the grass nearest to the camera and the plant on the left. Also that tree on the right. Now, we got a beautiful blur and the main focus here. There's one thing I really need to explain. Okay, this is a completely different project, but I forgot to explain with the forest one. So, look, this thing in the middle is the directional light icon. It's there somewhere in the forest project too. When you press G on your keyboard, it hides all those icons that are not part of what you want to see in the render. Additionally, when an object is selected, you can press Escape on your keyboard to unselect everything. Now that I'm sure that nothing is selected or visible, I can grab a high-quality screenshot, just click on this, then high-resolution screenshot. Higher multiplier value means higher quality image. No need to put it too high. I'm setting it to 2, then capture. It says here that it worked and where to find it. Click on the file path, then it should open a Finder or File Explorer window. And there we go. Congratulations on completing this tutorial. That's very impressive of you and something to be proud of. All I ask in return is that you subscribe so that I can eventually get monetized and make more of these. This was starting with Unreal. Thanks for watching.